There's Ali and Frazier. There's Federer and Nadal. There's Brady and Manning. But there is nothing compared to Charlie 5 and Jake Crain.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. A very special edition of Locked On Auburn, the first debate in Locked On Auburn history. We are joined by Jake Crain of Crain & Company and Auburn message board legend Charlie 5. So you guys got into some beef on Twitter after the Auburn-Georgia game, and emotions were high. There's no question about it. But Jake, you technically issued this invite, this challenge to a debate. So the rules here is, Jake, I'm going to let you start, kind of state the case, state why we're here. We're going to go a minute for Jake, a minute for Charlie 5. We'll rotate back and forth, let you guys respond to all the points made in the previous minute. So Jake, take it away. Why are we here and what are we debating today?
Yeah, no, first off, Charlie, I appreciate you being here. I mean, a lot of people don't accept debates. I've done this, tried to do it on Twitter before, and nobody's accepted. But really, first off, I love dissent. I don't think we have enough dissent in our society today. I think people either are in one echo chamber or the other, and anytime anybody tries to make progress by arguing, it turns into some war crime. Everybody just goes and hides in their holes. But I do think there's a difference between true dissent and fraudulent dissent. And what do I mean by that? I put out a tweet on X saying right after the game that, and Zach, I've come on here and talked about, look, losing, the standards should never be lower at Auburn, right? Losing should never be acceptable, but you have to accept reality. Auburn's in the building process. But I do think there were some adjustments that could have been made in the second half. You're not going to stop Brock Bowers, but to limit him a little bit. And I thought outside of that, the coaches pitched a perfect game, but basically said I thought there were some adjustments. And that there are no moral victories. And I think a lot of people agree with me on that. And look, if you got an opinion on, hey, they shouldn't have made adjustments, or they did make an adjustment, but it didn't work, that's fine. But that's not what Charlie did. Charlie basically said that I was trying to, quote unquote, sound smart. And to say that somebody's trying to sound smart, you're inferring that they're not smart. And if you're going to lodge that accusation, you need to be pretty well versed schematically in what you're saying, right? You can't to wade through the BS. So I was going to ask Charlie, just do very simply, can you give me the depth and leverage of a cover 2 corner versus doubles, not dice?
Charlie 5, you have a minute to respond.
I was really hoping you would go here. Because in the words of your boss, Ben Shapiro, look, I don't have to be an expert in a field to point out BS when I see it. Okay.
But explain it though.
I don't have to be a linebacker coach at Spanish Fort to know that he was Brock Bowers in the last 2 drives was never lined up as an inline tight end. So chipping, which was one of your suggestions, would not have worked. I don't have to be a GA at South Alabama to know that we actually were bracketing him almost every single time.
In the first half.
He was lined up.
Hold on, 30 seconds.
And I don't have to have a magical run through the junior college system of the Midwest to know that we don't have the player at safety that can chip him and reroute him, jam him off the line when he's lined up that way. You didn't say – you're not talking about scheme. You gave 3 suggestions, and you said they were easy. They were obvious. We've solved how we can stop the greatest player in college football right now. I mean, we should write a book. How to Stop a Unicorn. It's Easy, Bud, by Jake Crain, and let's go on a book tour.
All right, Jake.
Yeah, well, first off, the debate was about scheme, genius. That's what we were talking about. This isn't some generality. And look, I don't want to make it personal, Charlie. I don't know you. I mean, you haven't done enough for me to know you, honestly. You're a guy on message boards that pretends to know things. But this whole debate's about scheme. How can you say that somebody doesn't? That's what this debate was about. I didn't challenge you about generic things about football. You can't tell me the leverage and depth of a cover 2 corner. You can't tell me the leverage and depth of a quarter corner. Your ass probably can't even tell me an over front alignment. So how can you ever question anybody's football intelligence when you don't even know the ABCs? This whole debate's about scheme, and you have to take it somewhere else. You have to move the goalpost. You have to make it personal, because at the end of the day, Charlie, you really know nothing. This is like trying to debate somebody about algebra and you don't know it. You know nothing. What's an overfront? Can you tell me that? Can you tell me what an overfront is? We're talking about scheme, right?
10 seconds, Jake.
Is that what you're saying? We should have run an overfront?
No. And dude, I do a Sunday show where I listen to all the adjustments. Chipping was one of the few when he was lined up in line early. Later, if you watch on the touchdown, they run a concept where he's on the ball, where we probably made a China call in zone coverage. Brock Bowers on the ball at number 2. Ladd McConkey's off the ball at number 1. The Will linebacker doesn't get his hands on him. If you knew anything about football, you'd understand that adjustment isn't just about the call. It's physical action within the call. There was no reroute by the Will. The Will chased the whip. So you can try and move the goalpost all you want because you know nothing. I'm not about you.
All right, Charlie, 5, 1 minute to respond. Let him. It's his turn to talk.
Literally,
that's fine. That's fine. I mean, who are you?
So now that's what we're going to do.
We're going to talk scheme. Let's talk scheme.
Nobody. I'm a nobody. You asked
let's
me
talk
to come
scheme.
debate you. You asked me to come debate you, and then you
responded. About scheme, Charlie.
No, you responded. You responded to my tweet. You responded to my tweet with 3 suggestions. You did, and then you went on your Sunday show because I watched it. And then you beat in those same exact suggestions. And I'm just here to tell you, what
were those suggestions?
We're already doing one of the things that you suggested, and not great, but we were doing it. And B, the other 2 would not have made any difference.
No, look, the debate was about scheme. Yeah. That's what I asked you, because here's the question, Charlie, honest answer. How can you tell if somebody is trying to sound smart when you don't even understand how to tell people where to line up? How can you even say, I've got no problem with you having an opinion on football. I have a job because of people have opinions on football. But guess what I don't do? I don't walk into a doctor's office and tell him he's trying to sound smart and then challenge him to a debate on pulmonary embolisms when I know nothing about it. This was never about anything personal about me or personal about you. Dog, I'm happy with what I've done. We're not here to debate that. That's where I'm at, and you're at where you're at. But at the end of the day, this debate was about scheme. You can't Charlie, how can you tell somebody that they're just trying to sound smart, right, when you don't even know where to tell people to line up in basic middle school day 1 stuff? How can anybody ever take your opinion serious?
Jake, you said people do this all the time. We should.
What would I say?
We should have made adjustments. And
I explained them. I have a show.
You actually gave your suggestions of adjustments, and they were all garbage. They're all garbage.
Explain how, Charlie. How were they garbage?
I just told you.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Explain it.
Let him do it again. Let him do it again, Jake.
Let me give you a metaphor. I know this might help. Look, I know that you think that Brock Bowers is the Death Star, and all you have to do is chip him in his exhaust.
That's not all you have to do. No.
And you can take him down. But the thing is, we don't have a Luke Skywalker at safety, which is why we have 5 DB commits, and we're still going after the number 1 JUCO safety, and we're still going after a 5-star safety that we made a huge impression with the game plan on this past weekend. So, look, I get it. It's Twitter. You got few characters, but that's what you threw out. And then I went and watched your show just to make sure.
Yes.
Hammered the exact same points that would make no difference whatsoever.
Yes. No. So first off, Charlie, you don't chip at safety, buddy.
Correct.
That's not what you do. Nobody ever said chip at safety. Here's what I said. And if you go back and look at the last touchdown, we're in zone coverage, right? It looks like quarters. They probably made a China call at the bottom because Brock was on the ball. All right. You don't chip at safety. I said we're not rushing with 4. So if he was lined up in line, because the way football works is you have to have multiple answers for multiple things. If he does one thing, he could do another. A lot of times they had him out on the perimeter. You're exactly right. But there was no bracket at the end of the game. A lot in the first half. They bracketed him and shut him down. But you're not getting there with 4. I'll explain to you again the adjustments. Here's the thing. It's funny. You can't even tell me where to line up. Like this, it's already a joke. I knew you knew not a lot. I knew you didn't know a lot. I didn't know you knew nothing. But it's when you chip and you're not getting there with 4, right? You're not hurting anything because you're not getting there. But what else you could do is get your hands on him. Go back and watch, right? That's an easy adjustment. Guys, listen, we can't give him free releases.
10 seconds, Jake.
If he's on the ball, you can jam him, right? But he was on the ball and nobody was pressed up. That's fine. The Will never touched him. Never got it. You don't get this in the NFL. There's no illegal contact rule. But Charlie, you don't know an overfront? You can't tell me how a defense aligns in an overfront. See, I know your shtick,
1 minute,
and it
1 minute
sucks.
Respond
that's why you're a message board war hero, and that's all you'll ever be.
He is a message board legend. Charlie 5, 1 minute to respond. Gotta go to break.
This is what Ben Shapiro calls the argument from authority. Okay,
because I know what we're debating.
Yeah, I'm going to say things, and I know what an overfront is, even though we never talked about that running an overfront would have made a difference or been an adjustment.
No.
We're talking about things that are off the topic of what you came to talk about, and what you said were the solutions. I agree. I think if we had a Caleb Downs, if we had a Malachi Starks, we probably could have put a little bit more hands on him, but you have our best guy that could run with him was a 5'9" safety, and what are you going to do?
Dude, you don't chip with the safety, genius.
Right.
It's the linebacker. You're even wrong in saying this. No.
Hold on, guys. All right, hold on. We'll get Jake's response in just a moment right here on the special edition of Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Active Wealth Management. Go to activewealth.com. You can see all the services offered by our good friend, Ford Stokes. He's the president of Active Wealth Management. He also wants to give you a free book. Go to annuity360.net for this free book. It's all about annuities. It's all about how you can take better care of you and your family's financial future. ActiveWealth.com to schedule a free consultation or just to get more information or get Ford's free book at annuity360.net. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall is the best place to buy all officially licensed Auburn merchandise and swag, even decor from your home. They've got it all at alumnihall.com or their 3 physical locations in Auburn, Opelika, and Huntsville. The Opelika location is in Tigertown. The Auburn location is off of South College Street, right off of campus. And they have a location in Huntsville as well. Alumnihall.com for all of your shorts and hats and jerseys for men and women and kids and animals. So be sure to check them out, alumnihall.com. All right, we are back. Jake Crain, go ahead. You have 1 minute to react.
Yeah, here's what I'm saying. Here's why I asked you about the coverage alignment, right, and stuff like that. It's because in order for you to say that somebody is trying to sound smart, you have to because we're talking about coverage. That's one of the things, right? One of the 3 things I laid out that I've explained, that I can actually explain. The reason I asked you that is because if you can't tell me the simple things about the game schematically, how can you ever prove that somebody doesn't know what they're talking about? And you can use all the Ben Shapiro quotes you want. You can attack me personally all you want, but you do that because you don't know, Charlie. Like how can you sit here and judge somebody's football intelligence when you don't even know the ABCs of the, I'm talking about the subject. Chipping is what you do with outside linebackers and defensive ends. That has to do with the front. Coverage is cover 2, quarters, 6. We're not talking about, I'm not asking you hard questions. This is baby food. This is day 1 on campus stuff. So if you want to have opinion on football, that's great, man. That's fantastic. But don't ever use the term smart and football with yourself when you can't tell me the basic things. You're as casual as it gets. It's casual Friday on a Thursday, buddy.
Charlie 5, 1 minute to respond.
Again, I keep going back to this. I never said you chip with a safety. I said,
yes, you did.
Last 2 drives, he was never lined up as tight end, so you could not chip him with a linebacker or an outside linebacker or a defensive end. I said we don't have the player at safety to then jam him. That's what I said. We don't have that guy.
The safety doesn't jam him, Charlie. The safety doesn't jam him. It's the will. Do you really not know anything about football? Like, it's his own coverage. It's too high. The safeties are too high, genius. That's how you can tell what coverage it is. The linebacker chips him.
Real quick. So, Jake, what are the 3 things you specifically recommended?
Yes. 1, if he is lined up, attached to the line of scrimmage, right? Which they use him like Travis Kelce. They'll line him up attached and they'll detach him. Because you have to have answers to multiple things because defense is reactionary. You don't know the personnel grouping, but you don't know the formation they're coming out in. So you have to have an answer for if he's attached to the line of scrimmage. That was 1. So there's 1 answer. Let me finish, Charlie. The adults are talking. Stop. Second thing, if he's detached from the line of scrimmage and he's off the ball, if you're running man coverage and he's on the ball, you can jam him. It's not called a chip, buddy. That's called a jam. What I was saying was, and that last touchdown's a great example of it. They went dice into the boundary. It was 11 personnel, 2x2, dice into the boundary. All right, Brock Bowers was on the ball. Auburn's in zone coverage. Your Mike and your Will are in the box. Your safeties are too high. Your corners are on the outside. All right, he got a free release. He's on the ball, and that's fine. He got a free release past the Will. They never put their hands on him. This isn't the NFL. That's not a chip. That's not a chip. That's just getting your hands on him. But the fact that you sit there and said in that scenario, the safety should chip him, that is one of the top 3 dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. In fact, go back and watch it. I'm going to teach you. We're going to learn together today. The safety, and Jalen Simpson was out leveraged. He let him stack him. When you're running that coverage, you have to be inside leverage, and his depth was too deep. But if the Will gets his hands on him, now Carson Beck's eyes may move off, and he may throw the whip route to Ladd McConkey. But your ass doesn't understand that because you're nothing but a casual that plays the funny guy half the time, wants to be taken serious the other half the time, and you don't know enough. You don't know. You're a grifter, man. That's all you do. You're a grifter because you have no knowledge.
For Charlie 5.
Okay, first of all, I never said that a safety has to chip. You could call it safety, nickel, whatever. You said the answer was to get hands on him if he's not detached. That was your answer. And I'm simply saying Zion Puckett. I love Zion Puckett. Okay. He plays hard. He cannot run with Brock Bowers. So getting hands on him does nothing but make him that much
slows him down so he can run with them. It slows him. Zion Puckett's not playing Will.
He's 240 pounds. Okay. It's not going to slow him down when you have a 200-pound safety that can run a 4.5. Like, that's not – we don't have those guys, and you know that.
Charlie, who's the Will? Who plays Will for all – what was the safety that came in that replaced Jalen Simpson?
The safety that came in to replace Jalen Simpson was –
that you said can't run.
Caleb Wooden.
Caleb, that can't run. So if the safety can't run –
Zion Puckett was in coverage on the last play.
Okay. At safety or Will? Let's get this. Let's figure it out.
Probably a Will in that alignment.
Probably it will. Okay, so you do realize that Zion Puckett is not supposed to run with Brock Bowers, right? In zone coverage. That's not his job. All right? So what his job is, listen, I'm explaining it to you. You need to learn so you stop running your mouth about stuff you don't know. The safety is responsible for number 2, okay? What I was saying was if he's detached, which he was, that is correct. That when he releases up the field past that Will, because that Will, if they made a smash alert to the bottom, has to push to number 1 running the whip, which is Ladd McConkey, right? He's got to push through him because the corner's sinking because what Georgia was doing was running smash a lot, which is either a hitch, a whip, or a short route by number 1 and running the corner with number 2. That's why the safety's leverage was bad because he gets smashed. But guess what helps that, Charlie? When the Will pushes to number 1, he has to get his hands on number 2. That's how you slow him down. This isn't man coverage. Even if it was man coverage, the Will isn't responsible for the tight end. Again, how can you point out people's football intelligence when you aren't even smart enough to know the difference between man coverage and zone coverage?
All right, 1 minute response from Charlie 5. We'll take another break.
He's number 2. He's the number 2 player. It's not just that he's the tight end. That's a personnel grouping. How do you not know this? This is embarrassing, dog.
Charlie 5, 1 minute.
Zach, I don't know if you should release this, bro. I don't know.
You're right. It is very embarrassing.
It is. You don't know the difference in man coverage and zone coverage.
The difference is you think you talk in a vacuum and you do know who our personnel is.
Dog. So wait a minute.
Hold on, Jake.
You're telling me, hold on, Zach. You're telling me that the personnel isn't good enough to put their hands on the number 2 receiver. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Then you don't know about football, buddy. How does anybody cover anybody?
It's my turn to respond. You simply said on that last play that what would have solved it is getting a Zion Puckett who played 64 snaps. If he would have just got his hands on him, that would have
slowed him down a little bit. That would have slowed it down a little bit. And guess what? In this game, that little bit of slowing him down would have taken Carson Beck's eyes to his second read, which was the whip route.
Zach.
That's why, Charlie. You don't understand, buddy. It's not your fault.
We got to clip this. Look, we got to clip this because we can end a lot of careers, right? With this.
Charlie, you can't end anybody's career. So you're telling me, hold on that last touchdown, Zach, I want to make sure we're right. So you're telling me, Charlie, on that last touchdown that they scored with Brock Bowers, when he ran that basic right past the will and underneath the safety, that there was no way that the will linebacker could have got his hands on him just for a second to reroute him for a second. There's no possible way. That's what you're telling me.
I'm telling you, it's possible that he could have got his hands on him.
But then you agree with me.
There was nobody in the middle of the field regardless.
Because the safety was out leveraged. He was leveraged wrong. But guess what? When you slow him up, it slows him down so the safety can fix it. The safety was wrong. But so you're agreeing with me now that the will could have possibly gotten his hands on him.
No, I'm not. I'm agreeing that
That's what you just said.
Anybody could get your hands on somebody. What I don't agree is that it affects that play whatsoever.
That dude, then I mean, like, I don't know what to say.
We'll be right back. Jake, I want to read one of your tweets in just a moment, and I want you guys to discuss that one specifically. That's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, they've got everything. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So head over to ebaymotors.com to keep your ride or die alive. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, one thing I want y'all to talk about now, we'll change the topic slightly, but it's still relevant to y'all's exchange after the game. Jake, you tweeted out, Auburn is still building, and that needs to be taken in perspective. Mm-hmm. But when the DC doesn't make obvious adjustments, the criticism is warranted. There are no moral victories in this thing.
Yes. That's what we're just arguing, right? That's what I referenced at the beginning. Not that, and listen, I thought the game plan going into it was, Auburn basically had to pitch a perfect game as a coaching staff and as players. That was going to be tough to do anyway. But at the end, to me, especially on third down and third and long, I don't understand why Auburn didn't. You're not getting a pass rush anyway, right? Auburn couldn't get there. They got there a couple times. Eugene Asante slipped in behind slide protection one time. McAllister caught him on a boot one time. But I thought at the end, especially when Bowers and McConkey were out on the same side of the field, I was surprised that Auburn didn't go to two-man, right? And I think we have to be able to still two things can be true at once, right? The game plan can be good. Most of the adjustments can be good, but we can still be critical in some areas. Nobody's perfect of adjustments that we would have made. That's really the same play that we were debating earlier. That's the exact same tweet exchange that we were talking about earlier. But Ron's been great all year. The defense has been carrying the team.
All right, Charlie 5, your response to that tweet specifically in Jack's comments just now.
We talked about it. I think the issue that I took with it is the term obvious, as if there's an obvious solution to stop Brock Bowers. And that's where I took issue, because he had 14 targets and 8 catches. He did have some big catches that took over the game, but he's only had been targeted that many times one other time, and that was the SEC championship game last year, or 2 years ago against Alabama. The guy is unbelievable, and we controlled him for the most part for almost the whole game. And you get to the last drive, and we had a mix-up. We had a mix-up in coverage, and he made a one-handed catch. I mean, you go through stuff like that, and it's like when you say things like there's just obvious adjustments, and then when I ask you what those were, you come back with 2 things that would have made no difference.
Wait. Okay.
He actually did do, and Ron Roberts told us he did, and that hurts your feelings too.
So wait a minute. So you're saying, let me ask you this, because one of the things I said was I would have double covered him in that scenario. And hindsight's always 20/20. Was Auburn double covering? Hold on. Was Auburn double covering Brock Bowers on that last touchdown play?
No, they were not.
No, they weren't. So one of the things I said actually didn't happen, right? They did a lot of it in the first half. Now, look, you're not going to stop Brock Bowers, right? But in every adjustment, right, even obvious adjustments aren't changing the play call. They aren't changing the play call. They're things that you do within the play, like getting your hands on him. Hey, listen, guys, if he's on the ball and we're not doubling him up, we're not running 2-man, we're not bracketing him, and we're in zone coverage, you cannot let him get past 5 yards if he passes you without putting your hands on him. That's an obvious adjustment. Now, listen, again, if you have a problem with the term obvious, that's fine. We can argue that. I don't think that's crazy. But the fact that you're going to sit here and try and call out somebody's football intelligence when you don't even know how to line people up. Yes, like or cover two. How can you say there's a mix-up in coverage when you don't know what a coverage is?
All right, Charlie 5, 1 minute response, and we'll wrap this thing up.
I can answer that pretty easily. Gary Danielson, the first drive of where they went took the go-ahead field goal. When he told us to prepare for that wheel route that they ran early in the game, and they ran it again, and we weren't prepared for it. We had a mix-up. Cam Riley was supposed to be with that guy. He crashed down, and then he turns around. And he's running like crazy because he lost him on that same play that they ran earlier in the game.
What coverage was it that he lost him on?
It doesn't matter.
Then how do you know that it was Cam Riley's fault?
It was his man.
How do you know that? If you don't know the coverage, how do you know that?
Because he turned around and ran behind him immediately when he knew he was gone.
So he's rallying to the play, and here's the thing: it may have been his man, but how do you know? Okay, then what coverage was it?
It doesn't matter what coverage it was. That was his man. That was his man at that point in time. And
that's so backwards, man. Like
right.
That's so incredible.
We're about out of time.
We're about out of time to say.
All right, we're about out of time. So Jake, thank you so much. Charlie 5, thank you so much. Jake, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
It's easy, man. Just go to YouTube. It's Crain and Company, Crain and Company. Just hit over 100,000 over there. Thank you guys so much. Zach, thanks for doing this. Charlie, I know we disagree, bro, but thanks for coming on. Again, I don't know you personally. I'm not going to attack you personally, but if Zach likes you, you got to be a good guy, and hope the audience had some fun. Yeah, Charlie 5, real quick. How can people support you?
Just follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. I'll be in the Locked On Auburn Discord message board. You can find me anywhere.
Awesome. You can find all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.